Brazil's labor unions and social movements came out to the streets in cities across the country today to commemorate International Human Rights Day and demand the arrest of former President Jair Bolsonaro. Our correspondent Brian Mier has more details.
Thousands of Brazilian social movement and labor union activists took to the streets in 16 of the nation's largest cities on December 10th to demand that no amnesty is given to former President Jair Bolsonaro and 36 of his cronies who were indicted on November 21st for plotting a violent military coup to prevent Lula da Silva from taking power after winning the elections in 2022.
We see with the discovery of the assassination plot against President Lula, his vice president and the Supreme Court Minister Alexander de Moraes that the situation was even worse than we had thought. So we're here today to say, no amnesty, because they tried to take power away from the working class.
Leaders of Brazil's far right have been working to delegitimize Brazil's court system while lobbying Congress to pass a law granting amnesty for the hundreds of people who've already been indicted for the failed coup plot. But since new evidence released by the federal police shows that they were planning much more violence than previously thought, the amnesty movement is losing steam. This is why the social movements believe it is important to increase pressure on Congress now.
Our challenge is to defeat the logic of a bourgeois justice system which punishes the poor but doesn't punish the rich and their coup-plotting generals. This logic has been ingrained in the Brazilian system since the military dictatorship, when the military coup plotters tortured, raped and killed thousands of people and haven't been punished to this day. This is why we are fighting for punishment for both Bolsonaro, his coup-mongering generals, and for those behind the 1964 coup.
Brazil's Attorney General, Paulo Gano, is expected to file criminal charges against Bolsonaro and his cronies shortly after the new year. Brian Mier, TeleSUR, Recife.
In Brazil, union members and protesters gathered in Brasilia to voice their opposition against an amnesty request for prisoners who took part in a 2022 coup plot to prevent President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva from taking office.
The main purpose of today's demonstration is to oppose any possibility of amnesty for those responsible for the coup attempts, and for what we can call the continuing coup that was the entire previous government.
I and all the other citizens gathered here are against any possibility of amnesty for the coup plotters, who tried to attack Brazilian democracy. With coups and assassinations against the authorities in power, we have always tried to make it very clear that this kind of anti-democratic attitude, this kind of anti-democratic planning has to be dealt with rigorously under the law.